So I don't know about you, but this year I am putting myself first. As a mom of two, a content creator, and a speaker, my life can get really chaotic sometimes, and I'm sure you can relate to that. Whether you're a parent, a student, or you work in a full-time job, trying to juggle all the hats that we have to wear, especially as women, can be borderline impossible. And this can get to the point where things like self-care, seeing friends, or even just having 2 minutes to yourself is at the bottom of the list. But today's guest has found the perfect middle ground between motherhood and self-identity. Her content empowers women to regain control in their lives. She gives you the tips and the tools on how to build habits and routines that work for you, as well as parenting with purpose. So if that sounds like a conversation you want to be a part of, then don't forget to use the hashtag Better Left Unsaid to join in. Because some things are better left unsaid, but not here. So let's talk about it. Okay, yes, I've definitely been thinking about it, and whilst I do think some things are better left unsaid, I'm just not about that, not at all. Delicia London is a lifestyle content creator and mum of one. Today, we're diving into her experience as a solo parent, a rediscovery of self outside of motherhood, and how she's helping women take back control of their lives and their routines. Hi everyone, welcome back to episode 3 of the Better Left Unsaid podcast with me, Jessiara Marriott. Today, I have a guest that many of you will appreciate. She is someone that I have followed for months and months and months, and her content has really inspired me to become a better mother and a better individual. This is Delicia London. Delicia, for the people that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from?
So I am Delicia, mum of one, content creator. I've been content creating for a few years now. Haven't been doing it too consistently, but I try and show up as much as I can. And yeah, I'm someone who I would say is in like the personal development slash lifestyle space. So a lot of what I do is I like to bring people in on my journey as I just grow into the woman it is I see myself becoming, the woman it is I want to be. So a lot of what I do is I really just try and be as real and as authentic as possible so that just from living my everyday life, I'm able to like inspire women who are similar to me in similar positions as me, just so that we can like see the journey and the process of life and getting yourself to the place it is you want to be. I was working full time towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, and a situation happened where I was like made redundant. And I actually saw that as my opportunity to go full time with content creation, full time in pursuing what it is I want, and really just taking some risks, really just putting myself in an uncomfortable position so that I can eventually get to a comfortable position, I would say.
I wanted to mention before we actually get into it that when your content first popped up on my For You page on TikTok, I was like, who is this girl? Because your energy was so natural, and it's like you were pulling me into your content, and then I started binging. And I think it's just the way that you conduct yourself, the way that you speak about yourself. And as a content creator as well myself, you go into content creation in a way that's more like, I call it FaceTime content. So it's like you're just talking to the camera as if your bestie is in the same bed as you. And I love that natural approach. I just wanted to mention that before we continue, because it is honestly so refreshing to see a content creator that isn't all about the industry and the money. Like, you're here to make a genuine connection, and you're here to benefit other people's lives. So thank you for that. It's really refreshing to watch.
And be as authentic as possible. Like I just don't perform. I don't think I'd be able to keep up, you know? I really I'd be able to keep up. So I just go into it. I just pull my camera. I don't script anything. I don't think about anything. I don't plan anything. Sometimes I think I should plan a little bit, but I just go into it. Like
You do it best. I think the way you just talk to the camera so naturally is it's something I cannot do. That if I had just an idea and I'm like, let me pop my phone up, I will be here like, okay, what should I say first? Okay, what should I say next? How do I structure this? Like, that's how my brain works. You do it perfectly. So keep doing what you're doing, honestly. Okay, so we're gonna get into motherhood because you're a mother of one. Tell us about your journey into motherhood. How was finding out you were pregnant? How was pregnancy? How was giving birth? You don't need to go into the ins and outs, but how did you find motherhood for you initially?
you're so crazy. I don't really remember that time.
Mm.
It was honestly such a blur. Like, when people ask me, I never really have a response because even me deciding to, like, go ahead with my pregnancy, everything happened very unconsciously. Like, I felt like I was having an out of body experience. So, I got pregnant when I was 23, and yeah, at that time, it was just like I was taking action without actually thinking about doing anything. So, let's say the actual, like, pregnancy itself, I can't tell you what took place. I cannot tell you what took place because I was not there. Like, I weren't present, like, from deciding to keep her, like, coming up with names, preparing to go to the hospital, buying things for her. I can't remember anything. Everything, like, I was just existing. I don't know what was going on. And then I just always remember being on the bed in labor, and then okay, it's time to push, and I burst into tears because, like, that moment, it was at that moment it hit me. I was like, at a moment where I realized, like, crap, like, you're about to
I'm about to become someone's mum. Yeah.
yeah. Actually, at that moment where it hit me, like, yeah, I'm about to become someone's mum. And I would say for the first year, literally for the exactly one whole entire year, I was not myself. Like, it was also COVID times as well, so that didn't help. Having a child during COVID, I moved out of my mum's house as soon as she was born. So it was just me and her living. We weren't too far, but we also weren't local to my family. So with it being COVID and us not being close to family, it was always just us on our own. So I would say for that first year, I just still wasn't present. Like, I still felt myself. And then I remember as soon as she turned 1, it was like something clicked in my brain. Like, I don't know if you had that same experience where it's
It's
so weird,
the
like,
difference. Yeah.
I always say to women, like, don't make any decisions for that first year. Don't do anything drastic for that first year because after that first year, once you've passed that hurdle, you're going to go back to yourself and you're going to look at things differently. You're going to feel differently. So you don't want to make any permanent decisions in that first year. Because you are not you during that time. So I remember that year had gone by, and then I started to feel like, something just clicked in my brain where I just felt like myself again. And that's when I felt like, okay, cool. Now I need to focus on me again. Now I need to take care of me. Then now I need to figure out, who am I? Like, yes, I'm a mum, but outside of being a mother, who are you? What do you want to do? What do you want to do for a career? How, like, that's when I started to ask myself all of those questions. But I wish I could give you guys more, but honestly, such a blur. Like, I don't know if I just pushed everything to the back of my mind, and it was just like, well, I just need to show up every single day for my child, and that's what it was. But
Mhm.
part everything I blocked everything out. It's crazy, honestly.
I feel like for a lot of women, pregnancy, planned or not planned, is one of those things, especially if you've never gone through it before, where it's just like you're thrown into it and you have to figure out how to adjust. You have to figure out, what you're doing. And even then, I feel like we're how many years into being parents now, and I still have no idea what I'm doing. You still have no idea what you're doing. But I think for me as well, I completely was tapped out. During pregnancy, I think I was really excited to have a baby, like just the baby. I didn't think about raising her past giving birth to her. That wasn't a thought. It was more like I'm having a baby and she's gonna stay a baby for years, but no. But the same experience as you, where after I had her, I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm here, but I'm not here. Um, I think we go through so many hormones as well, and our body's readjusting to everything, and you're trying to look after a small human, and you're doing it alone as well. Like, it's a lot of emotions. So as a single mom, what were those challenges that you were faced with? How did you overcome it? Because, like you said, you're a mother, but you're more than someone's mum. You're also Delicia. You need to figure out who you are, what you like, how you are continuing on your path into motherhood, as well as being an individual.
Yeah. So to be honest with you, I wasn't always a single mother. Like
Hmm.
for the first, I say 2 and a bit years, I think, yeah, I think 2 and a bit years, her dad was like really present. We had, we were always co-parenting, but because of how involved he was and how much he was co-parenting, I wouldn't say like I just didn't feel right saying I was a single
Right.
because I had so much support. It just didn't feel right. So I would say for the first two, like realistically, the only challenges I faced in the first 2.5 years was because I was trying to figure out co-parenting. So
Mm.
that was the biggest challenge at first. And then once it did transition over to me being a single parent, I prefer to call it like a solo parent. So when
Mhm.
I transitioned over into being like a solo parent where I wasn't no longer getting that help and that support, it's crazy because I would say the only challenges I faced were more emotional challenges rather than actual physical material challenges. I've been in like a really fortunate and blessed position where I haven't had to struggle financially. Like I've always been able to provide for myself and for my daughter, and I haven't had to worry about like how I was going to pay my bills, how I was going to pay my rent, how I was going to do anything. So I've been in a very fortunate position. I do think a lot of that did come from my mindset and look on being a solo parent because it's not that I shouldn't, like, realistically, I should have been struggling. It's not like I had the best paying job in the world. It's not like content was, bringing in millions. It's not that wasn't the case. But I think because of just like who I am and how resilient I've been and my mindset, I've always been fortunate and I've always just like attracted good to me. I feel like a lot of people will just, I don't know. I always think people like, I feel like they wouldn't be able to relate to me because of the fact that people expect you to struggle as a single mom. That's just like, it's not my reality. So I don't have the same kind of struggles that other single mothers have because I just won't allow myself to struggle. Like I always say it. like, I just don't resonate with struggle. I don't accept it. It's not something that I would I wouldn't even allow it to get to that point. They were like, I've been through a lot of difficult challenges, especially going from co-parenting to being a solo parent where it should have been like a struggle. It should have been difficult, but because I didn't let it get the best of me, it never became that. So the only times I did struggle, I would say emotionally, was when my daughter herself realized that she no longer had a father figure in her life. Like, she would, just say certain things like, first she started off by saying like, "Oh, I don't have a daddy anymore." That's when, like, he stopped coming around. She started to see him less and less and less. She'll say things like, "Oh, I don't have a daddy anymore." And that's when I started to, like had to ask myself like, "Okay, cool. How am I going to address this with her? Um, like, how am I going to make this easier for her?" And then she would always point out like, "This person has a daddy. This person has a daddy." And then she'd say things like, "I used to have a daddy." Sorry, he just yeah, so she would say things like, "Oh, I used to have a daddy," and things like that. So that's when I would say I was struggling, like, emotionally, but seeing her, like, come to terms with it, it's like she obviously, I played my part in just explaining to her the situation as best as I could or as best as a young child could, like, actually understand and expect. Um, but just seeing her come to terms with it and emotionally regulate herself, like, that helped me overcome the struggles that I felt emotionally, like, just seeing how strong she was as a young child, like, really helped me. I would say that was really the only struggle, but outside of that, like I said, I've been fortunate and blessed enough, and God has always been there. Like, I've always prayed my way out of situations. The minute I notice something could potentially be harmful in any way, like I pick up on it very quickly and I just act, and I'm just all about acting and not allowing things to progress into something that goes out of control. And I've always just been one step ahead. So fortunately, I haven't really had any struggles.
I really do commend the way you go about not only just motherhood, but just life in general, because I think whilst, yeah, what you say can not offend other people, but I think other people can see it as like, well, that shouldn't be the case, well, you shouldn't go about like your life like that. But that's, I think personally, that's the way I'm trying to adapt my life now, is adapting and figuring out when a problem arises, sorting out then and there and figuring out how you can overcome it.
Yeah,
That's not to say, you shouldn't allow yourself to feel the emotions. Feel the emotions, but don't sit in it for too long, because you'll go down such a dark path and you won't be able to come out of it.
yeah,
So I do commend you for the way you go about that. I'm trying to adapt that on. It's very difficult as a very emotional person in general. And obviously being a mum it's a full-time job. So obviously there's so many challenges we face. But like you said, as a solo parent, you've gone through so much, but your daughter and you, that bond that you have is unbreakable. And I just love the way that you speak with her and the way that your relationship has developed and grown. And that's something I'm taking on as a girl mom myself. I feel like that's something we need to teach our daughters, is how to speak and how to, talk about their emotions. And you've done that so well. And it seems like you're very self-aware. So how do you think your relationship with yourself has changed from being a mum into now finding out who you are again post, motherhood and giving birth?
so my journey as to, like, where I am right now, luckily it started before I had my daughter. And so I had a few reality checks a few years before I had her where I just didn't, for lack of a better word, I just didn't like how I was going about things. I just didn't like how I was presenting myself to the world. So
Mm,
I started a lot of like self-help and personal development very early on. So when my daughter came around, it's like I already had that foundation there. Um, yeah, so I already had that foundation there. I definitely lost myself, and I I would say I let go of my power. I because I was so focused on everything outside of me, um, I basically let myself go for this that I was pregnant and the year after I had her, and maybe even a year and a half, maybe even 2 years, because I wasn't solely focused on her and I wasn't solely focused on myself. I was also focused on pleasing either her dad or pleasing his family. Because of that, I say that I lost myself. But because I had that foundation there, it was very easy for me to get back to me. Um, and it's so crazy, but I feel like becoming a single parent actually made me a better mother, because now it's no longer about pleasing everyone else and doing something to make someone else happy. The purpose and the sole focus became my daughter, and it became myself and doing what's best for me, because what's best for me is best for her. So I think building that foundation before I had her is what really helped me, like, get back to me, focus on me, because I already had that understanding. It's really hard doing that when you don't have that understanding. Like, I've been speaking to family so much over the past few days, and like, I'm trying to help them see things a little bit differently, but because they don't have that understanding, it takes so, so, so much work. So I've been fortunate enough to have those realizations very early on. I don't know where I would be right now if I didn't already have that like instilled within me. So having the understanding of who it is I want to be and what it is I want from my life really helps me like focus on myself in motherhood, as I recognize how important I still am as, like, yes, I'm someone's mother, but I'm also important as myself, as a sole person. Like, yes, she's my priority.
mhm.
I'm also my priority as well. So yeah.
How do you think you adapted that? I know you said it comes very naturally to you, and it's very evident that you are so self-aware. But for a lot of us, I think, especially postpartum, like I remember I went through a phase after having my daughter and then getting pregnant with my second, where I was like, I felt like I was just someone's mum. Like I felt like I was waking up and doing the school run and making breakfast and cooking dinner and doing the laundry. It felt very repetitive. So I felt like I lost myself. So I had to realize, you are still Jessiara. You still have hobbies. You still have likes. You still have dislikes. There's things you can do outside of being a mum. But for me, I felt very trapped within that bubble. So what do you think are some of those things, the things that you done to help? Like you said, you were always like that, but get yourself back into who is Delicia? Like, what were the things, the steps that you take? And was it self-care? You go to the gym, eating healthier.
Yeah, so it was all of that. So I'm a big believer in like having routines because
Mm.
if I've got a routine, I've just got something that I can just follow and it just makes life so much easier for me. So I've always had like a very strict morning routine. I'll wake up early, go to the gym. I'm not gonna lie, like I try and eat healthy, but I've addiction. I've got an addiction to junk food, like 1000%. I'm even saying this. So I have more of like a balanced diet, but having that routine and just knowing, okay, cool. The first thing I'm gonna do with my day after like I've taken my daughter to either nursery or school, whatever it is, going to the gym, like questions about it. I might battle with myself in my head for a little bit, but I'm gonna go to the gym. So I'll always go to the gym, make sure I try and have like as healthy as a breakfast like, as I could possibly have, and just have things to do in my day. Like for me, I have to keep busy. If I am doing nothing, that's when I feel like I'm falling into like a depressive mode. So just keeping myself busy, but not just busy with housework, like keeping myself busy with the things that I actually enjoy, keeping myself busy with the things that I feel like is something that's related to what it is I want to do with my life. That allows me to feel like I am someone outside of just being someone's mom and, someone who has to take care of their home. I feel like you have to have something for yourself, whether it's a hobby, a small business, or something. If you're talented, like just pouring yourself into something. So that's what really, really helps me. Like if I haven't got an idea or something that I'm pursuing, that's when I definitely feel my worst. That's when I feel like all I am is a mother. And being a mother is a great thing, but I don't know how anyone else feels, but for me personally, that's not all I want to be. I don't feel like that was my purpose in life. Like I don't feel like God called me here just to be someone's mum. I feel like I'm so much more than that. So I have to be pursuing something or doing something that is aligned to the woman it is I see myself as outside of motherhood. So that's what really helps me. And I definitely encourage everyone to just figure it out, pursue something. Don't just do nothing just because you don't know what it is you should be doing. The worst thing you can do to yourself is not know what you want to do. So because of that, you do nothing. You have to do something. I'm a big believer in trying it all. I remember, actually, I do remember something about my pregnancy. I remember I took a lash course, a facial course, a waxing course. I was heavily pregnant going to the beauty academy. I can't remember where it was. The beauty academy is somewhere in London, heavily pregnant. They're practicing how to do lash, all of the stuff. Then when I finally like moved out of my mum's house, it was something I was going to pursue, but I realized I don't actually want to do that. But just having something to look forward to really helped me because I was able to see what the future looks like outside of just motherhood. Like I was able to see, okay, cool. I might be a lash tech in 6 months. I might be a lash tech in a year's time, or I might be an esthetician or someone who does skincare. Like I had something to look forward to because I'm always pursuing. And the reason why I say do it all is because you very quickly understand, okay, what it is you don't like to do. And the minute you realize what you don't like to do, that's when you can start to figure out what do I like to do. You have to just have something, and having something for yourself that is in no way at all related to motherhood is probably the best thing you can do for yourself because that's when you are able to identify who you are, what it is you do. Otherwise, it's always just going to be a case of, well, yeah, I'm just like, hi, and I'm a mum. Like, that's all it will be. So, for me, it's just all about having something for yourself that you can actively pursue every single day. outside of your norm,
Mm.
you know?
I think that balance that you have with your day-to-day routine and being a mum, like when I watch your vlogs of you waking up, going to the gym and doing your food shop and then getting your daughter from school, I really do, like I said, I commend that balance that you have because I think that's something a lot of us struggle with being parents, being mothers, is finding the balance between being an individual, doing our hobbies, seeing our friends, and also being there 100% for our children. So, what do you think keeps you accountable? What holds you accountable? Do you have like a support group? Do you have other friends who do it? Or is it just your belief in yourself and your want to do better for yourself?
Yeah, yeah, I don't have, like I wish I had, like, a support group or friends or something who was on the same page as me, but honestly, it's not that. It's just I know what I want my present and my future to look like. And the only way I'm gonna get there is by pouring into myself. Like, yeah, I'll have moments where I fall off and feel burnt out, but I'm always gonna get back to what it is I need to be doing because I have goals, I have dreams, I have aspirations, I have things that I want. And sadly, no one's coming to save me. I can only rely on myself, and it's not just for me as well. Like, I want to be able to provide my daughter with the best possible life. I always say to her, like, you're so lucky." Like, she's so lucky because she has a mother who wants, like, I want to give her the best, like, genuinely want to give her the best. And she's a constant reminder of the fact that I have to keep going because I want her to be able to experience all of life's greatness. So that's what keeps me going. Like, I try and remind myself as of my goals as much as possible, but I feel like I also have a very clear vision. Like, I can see what the next 10 years will look like for me so clearly. And I also have the understanding that the next 10 years could also look exactly the same if I do nothing about it. Like, when we look at our aunties and uncles and parents, some of them have been in the same jobs for 20, 40, 50 years. And I think it's easier to be in the same position without realizing it. So I constantly remind myself that you don't want to be here 10 years from now. So you have to work like you have no choice. So yeah, it's really just me in my head. Like,
Yeah, I'm the exact same as you. Like, I wish I had, a bunch of girlfriends around me who had similar goals. And I think that way it would be much more like motivating. But like you said, I think when you are your own supporter, your biggest cheerleader, you can do it times 10. And if you see that goal really clearly, then you will be on it and you will be on that road to success in no time. But when the days are really overwhelming for you and when it gets a lot, like motherhood, work, etc., how do you overcome feeling overwhelmed and how do you stop yourself from going to that really, really low point if you can?
so I allow myself to feel what I'm feeling.
Mhm.
So recently, um, I was definitely going through I'm not sure if the word is overwhelmed. I
Mm.
started to feel overwhelmed recently because I realized I'm turning 30. So I'm gonna be 30 here. And I was telling myself everything is that I want before I'm 30, and it's a lot. Like, there's a lot that I want to be able to accomplish before I'm 30. Some I might not be able to accomplish before I'm 30 because they're huge, huge goals. So that's when I felt overwhelmed, I guess. But in general, I don't necessarily feel overwhelmed. I think I felt like recently I just felt more just like burnt out. Like, I just felt
Mm.
I just can't do this. Like, I I felt like I can't do this. Do I even want to do this? Can I be asked to do this? Like, that's everything that I was feeling. So when I came out of that, I realized all of those feelings stems and came from fear. So what I was doing in that time where I was basically scared, I think that's all it is, like confused, like being overwhelmed and everything with the fact that we're actually just scared. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if everything we're going to do is going to work or if it's going to align or how it's going to come about. So I realized that. So before I realized I was scared, what I was doing was I was trying to put myself in like survival mode. So I found myself like applying for jobs and trying to convince myself that I wanted to be a corporate baddie. Like, I wanted to be in a 9 to 5. Like, I tried to convince myself that that's what I wanted. And I was experiencing a lot of resistance area. So just rejection after rejection after rejection. And then at the same time as that was happening, like content started to show me that that's what it is I should be doing. So when I took a step back and realized what it was that I was actually feeling was like fear and just being scared of the unknown, I just
Mhm.
had to snap myself out of it. It was just a case of this you know what it is you should be doing, looking for another answer or another solution. You have to just literally, my favorite saying, face the fear and just do it anyway. You have to just throw yourself into what it is you want. So I'm a very I would say I'm a very I don't know if it's like quite harsh. I'm quite harsh with myself where I would literally like whatever I'm experiencing, I would bully myself out of it. No, I don't like to sugarcoat it. Like I'll the craziest pep talk with myself where I'm like, no, I like I will really have a go at myself. I have to. Even like publicly have a go at myself as well. Go on TikTok and I'll let everyone know how much of the joke I've been, just how unserious I've been. And in doing that, I'm like able to pull myself out of whatever it is I'm experiencing to get myself back to where it is I need to be. I just think should be around industrial like for me and just, you know, just I don't know, just being just adding fluff to things just doesn't work. So once I've allowed myself to, feel what you're feeling, experience it, be miserable, be scared, but you can only do that for so long. And it has to a point where you have to just get into gear and go after everything. So that's what I tend to do. Just feel it for a little bit, but then at some point you need to wake up. Like you need to stop it. And that's what it is for me.
I think the mindset thing definitely is where it comes into play. Once you've disciplined yourself in a way where, like you said, you know what you want, you know how you're going to get there. But then I think it's a very human thing to do when we try and find excuses and find avenues. Like I've been there before looking on not right move, looking on Indeed for corporate jobs and normal jobs and looking at other people and where they are and where we want to be and not getting there and having that doubt, I guess, of we know we can do it, but I think you just, like you said, feel the fear. And the fear scares us away from doing what it is that we actually want to do. And I think instead we try and find ourselves something that is safe and comfortable. But I think a lot of the time, what we need to understand as individuals is being comfortable isn't always what's best for us. Comfortability is safe, but I don't like being within my comfort zone. I think being within my comfort zone restricts me from what I actually want. Stepping outside of your comfort zone to discover, your fullest potential is what's best. But for a lot of us, yeah, it's just the fear thing of restricting us and not wanting to fail when in reality, that's what we need to do to be able to, overcome it and figure out the steps that we need to do. But going forward with content creation, what do you think is what keeps you motivated? Like you said, your daughter definitely is a motivation for you, but how do you keep yourself disciplined? What are some things that you do that you think other people can implicate into their day-to-day lives, whether or not they're a parent?
What keeps me disciplined with content? Um, oh, it's a hard one. I mean, what keeps me like in terms of like what makes me do it consistently? I have to put this into get it should be, but is that what keeps me?
Yeah, yeah. Because for me, when I committed doing it full time, I've been doing this for 23 years. I've never actually had a corporate job or a big girl job. Like I'm only 23, left
Yeah,
university at 19 to have my daughter, done this full time. So I can't
yeah.
really relate to the being in a corporate world and having a proper job, even though this is a proper job, but um, but how did you, yeah, put yourself in the mindset of this is my 9 to 5? You have to make it a 9 to 5 to be able to do it properly. Like how have you changed your thought process around content creation? Because some people see this as like this is fun, but you want to do it full time. You want to do this as career. So how did you change the way you spoke to yourself regarding that?
One, I genuinely enjoy creating content.
Mhm.
So I actually don't do it for the monetary side of it. I actually just enjoy it. And the only time I'm not consistent with content is if I'm genuinely just burnt out. Like if I just feel like, oh yeah, I think it's just when I feel burnout. But every other time I would say I'm consistent because it's something I enjoy.
Mhm.
I would say don't pursue content just because you feel like that's the next best thing. It has to be something that you actually have a love for, you actually enjoy. Like I enjoy every aspect of it. I enjoy creating the content, editing the content, posting the content, responding to comments. I enjoy all aspects of it. I enjoy interacting with people. Like I recognize so many people's names. Like I'm actually very much immersed in it. So that's the first thing. I genuinely enjoy it. And then the second thing, would be I think I've passed the stage where it's like, this is what I want to do, and this is what like, I feel like I know this is what I should be doing. Like, I feel like there is really no other option for me. Like, I feel like I could force there to be another option. Like, I could always go and get a corporate job. I could always go and pursue starting a business. But at the end of the day, I know this is what I should be doing. And not because yeah, I feel like I know this is what I should be doing because of how I pursue content. I think because I'm taking people in on a journey and showing them my life and being very intentional about what I create and what I post, I know that's what I should be doing because it benefits other people. It's not just for me.
Mm.
So I feel like it was my calling to show people like the journey of becoming the best version of yourself. I feel like it's something God wants me to do. So I'm very intentional about how I present myself and how I live my day to day life because I just know this is what I should be doing. And then obviously, when you actually start to get the recognition as well, and brands start reaching out and opportunities start to come your way, it makes it even more worthwhile. It's like, so it's those three things for me. Um, Yeah, but there isn't, like, anything else other than the fact that I just genuinely love it. Like, I like to talk, I like to educate people, I like to share my experiences, I love it all, like, honestly, I really do.
It's really rare to find that in a content creator these days because I think people see how much you can make and the
Yeah.
brands you can work with and the things they can do for you, and it's not all glitz and glamour. You really do have to enjoy the hours of editing and the late nights and not wanting to film, but you film anyway and finding your groove essentially with it. I think it takes a long time for a lot of us, but finding the love and having the love is the most important part. But when it comes to regaining your power, because I think for a lot of us, especially being a mother, being a parent, we go through that phase of feeling not powerless, but we don't feel like ourselves. We feel like we're in this foggy part, like you mentioned earlier. So, what does regaining your power mean to you? How have you done that? Are there any tips that you can give people that you think that can help them in rediscovering who they are and finding that burst for life again?
So with regaining your power, I'm gonna speak to the single mothers here. I would say the thing that made me feel quite powerless was when I was co-parenting and my focus wasn't on myself or my daughter. My focus was on pleasing the other person and doing everything they wanted their way. The minute boundaries were put in place and the minute like access to me was cut off was the minute I regained my power because it became about doing things for my daughter and doing things for myself, doing what makes sense for her, doing what makes sense for me. So for me, if you are a single mother and you feel just like not like yourself, you feel powerless, you feel like the world is against you, you have to become very strict and you have to put boundaries in place and start to put yourself first and your child first and understand that the minute that you do that is the minute you regain your power. The minute you put your foot down, the minute you revoke access, the minute you start to not backpedal. Like I feel like a lot of us will have rules for ourselves. This is one thing I noticed in dating as well. Like we'll have these rules for ourselves, but then you might meet someone, and because you've met someone that you like, you feel like, oh, maybe I can break this rule a little bit. Don't bend. Like, if you have rules for yourself, if you have values, if you have anything like that, do not break anything or bend anything or reshape anything to please others. You have to become very, very strict. Like, yes, you can compromise, but do not do yourself a disservice because you want to make other people happy or want to
Mm.
cater to someone else's needs. You have to remember that your needs are the most important and they are what matters most. So I had to become very, very strict, like in all aspects of my life. I lost myself a little bit recently. I was dating, and because I liked someone, that's exactly what I did. Like, I started certain things I said I wouldn't do, or certain things I said I would do because I liked this person. I found that I was just like breaking my own rules just because I liked this person. And in that moment, I honestly felt like I had lost myself. And it made you feel like you've lost yourself, you've lost your power. Like, that's just a fact. So just don't backpedal. Don't go back on what you've said. Like, stand by it. As hard as it feels, as hard as it may be, stand by absolutely everything. And that is how you're going to start to regain your power. And if your son doesn't live life with like rules or values or anything like that, you need to put those in place. And that's how you're also going to start to regain your power as well. And you're just going to have to develop like thick skin and roots as well. Um, don't 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 let life's experiences like change you or cause you to feel, I don't know the best way to put this, but just don't change because of how hard life may be. Like, if you're someone who has a big heart, don't now shrink it because of how hard life is. So it's just things like that that will allow you to be a powerful person and allow you to regain your power as well.
That is such a beautiful message, I think, especially like you said, to single mothers and to solo mothers. I can't speak on that because
Yeah.
I've, been with my partner for like 5 years. But I think one thing I do take away from solo parents and single mothers is your strength and the power that you hold. Especially, I think when you have power and when you have boundaries, people respect you more, people take you more seriously. And that's in all walks of life. But especially, like you said, when it comes to setting those boundaries with people in your life that you need to distance from, it's so essential. It's something I need to do. I need to get a backbone sometimes because I do let people walk all over me, especially when it comes to parenting and motherhood and getting unsolicited advice. It's not needed sometimes. So, such a beautiful message that you've shared with us for all the single mothers and just parents in general. But thank you so much for coming on and being my first guest. It has honestly been such an honor to talk to you and finally meet you virtually. Is there anything last thing you want to say? Any tips you want to give? You want to shout yourself out? Now's your opportunity.
You guys can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and my name is the same on everything. It is at Delicia London.
Thank you so much for being on again. And if you're new, consider subscribing to the channel because so much more content and so much more amazing visitors and guests are going to come on the podcast. I've been your host, Jessiara Marriott, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye. Bye.